Welcome to another Teaching Tuesday. Today is August 17th and I went shopping. So I'm going to share with you what I did on my shopping spree and what's in my foraging basket and what I'm going to be doing with it. So I'm excited about this. I think I should have been doing this every month just as a regular surfing Nature's Wave together to show you what's for sale for free right now on God's grocery stores. So I'm really happy to have this opportunity to share my passions and to light wildfires, the best of kinds, and to welcome new members. Thank you so much for joining me. Aaliyah, if you're here, it was wonderful to meet you yesterday. We even have it spreading all over the world, so I'm just so excited to be able to share with people what belongs to them, what has been riches that have been hidden right below their feet or what they're walking on, free for the knowing and the picking. So we're going to go over things from roots to fruits and nuts. Everything that you see in front of me, Jason and I foraged for last night. I even got up early this morning and got some things that I knew out there free and I wanted to get them. So what I'm doing right now, I always start my class with herbing around, and let's see if you can recognize this plant. So these get really tall, and this is just a baby, and so I was real excited to find the baby because this is one of those amazing plants. This is pokeweed, and it's Phytolacca americana. We did an entire class on this back in May. So I will, in our class review, I will give the link to that if you want to learn everything about poke. This is the plant that kept the South alive during the Civil War. This has been canned all the way till 1993 was the last time that it was sold in the stores. Farmers markets sell it in Europe. It is probably one of the tastiest plants ever. The problem with it is poisonous. So it has everything to do with the timing of when you collect it and how you prepare it. So please be sure to watch my class before you imbibe on any of this. The thing is that this is the age that you want to get it, when they're really tiny like this. And you want to cut off all these healthy meristematic growing leaves, wash them really well, and then boil them up really hard in some hard boiled water. And then rinse them again because the toxins are water soluble. After you rinse them, then put them back in the boiling water again. You can do that 2 or 3 times. Old timers don't do it that many times, but I think starting off fresh, you ought to just do it a few times, at least 2, to make sure that you've gotten rid of all those alkaloids. This has got to be the tastiest wild edible. So see what I'm doing is I'm just pruning off just the little leaves, and I'm not going to use the stalks right now. I'm just using the leaves. So now I've got a mess of greens, and remember Elvis Presley wrote the song, what was it called, Poke Salad Annie? So I'll put that in the comments as well. So all of this needs to be rinsed. I'm going to rinse it really quick, get it boiling up really quick, and then I'll be right back. I'm only going to do a handful at a time, right into the boiling water. And I'm going to use a wooden spoon to push it down so it's completely covered. And let that go for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Rinse it off again, because all of the toxins now are going to be in that water. So that this is not a pot liquor you would ever want to use for your soups when you're working with poke. You just throw out the water. Alright, so that's one of the things that I wanted to herb around with. And the other thing I wanted to herb around with is these beautiful burdock leaves. So let me just show you what I do with them. So you want to go up the midrib like this and just cut out the really thick part like so. And then you can dry these flat. Whoops. Dry these flat like in your car on a hot day in the sunshine, or just hanging them. I used to put them on my clothesline. Just don't let it get rained on. And we'll talk about why this is amazing in a little bit. Okay, so that's enough herbing around. Believe me, there's plenty to do to keep my hands busy and out of trouble with what's in front of me right now. So let me say, I want to ask where you're listening from. And did you enjoy our classes on blackberries? Realize that any berries, any wild berries, or regular store-bought berries that are out there right now, or any time of year, actually berries can come out at different times of year. The recipes that we did and the activities we did with the blackberry can be done with any of the berries. So I hope you enjoyed that. And let me know if you've been foraging for blackberries in your neck of the woods. Okay, and then this is my blackberry lemonade. Jason, would you like some?
I would like some very much.
All right. We had to put Max in the other room with the door shut because for some reason when I start filming, he starts growling. I don't know what that's all about. Here, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, are you going to tell them what happened to that one kefir bottle that was here?
Oh, it was wine. Yeah, I was making wine.
Well, tell them what happened
Well,
then.
why don't you? Because I wasn't here.
Well, I walked into the kitchen without warning and saw glass shattered and liquid red all over the place.
Like blood.
Because that capped bottle had burst. So if you're doing kefirs, if you're going to try kefirs, plan on it. Plan on it.
And I was going to put it inside of a bucket with a lid on, but I totally forgot and then relived to pay the cost. So yeah, I spent a lot of time cleaning up glass and liquid, which stained my white counter, but I can get that off. All right, so this was our tea time, and then I wanted to talk about Psalms 104:24, which I've shared with you many times, but I'm going to share it again because we're going to talk about hidden riches. So, like, sometimes women really like to shop. I'm not one of them, but I do like to spend money, and I do like to get things, especially free things. But I'm not the kind of person who likes to go shopping for clothes or anything like that. But a lot of women do, and I think foraging scratches the shopping itch. So when we go shopping, what is it we look for? We look for things that are edible, medicinal, useful, practical, magical, beautiful, transplantable, all of these ables. And so that's what Jason and I did last night. We went shopping, even in the dark, to get some of these things so that I could share with you what's on Nature's Wave right now in the highly seasonal activity of foraging. Okay, so the verse was, that's what I was going to share with you, is, O Lord, how many and varied are your works. And look at the variety, you guys. In wisdom, you've made them all. The whole earth is full of your riches. So we have riches that sometimes we're not even aware of. And what I love to do is help people connect with their roots and with their past and with God's provision and abundance that has been given ever since He created us and breathed His life into us. All of this represents His creativity and His generosity and His knowledge of what we need to live and thrive. So hidden riches is kind of what foraging is all about. So if you want to go shopping and you don't have money, then foraging is perfect. So let me teach you how to do that. We've been talking, let's go over some of our verses. The earth is full of the goodness of the Lord. We did that when we talked about edible flowers. They just look like goodness, but what's really goodness, I think, is the fruits and the berries. I love that. Be patient like a farmer who waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for rain. So the harvest is coming in, you guys, and if you don't get out there and get it, then it just kind of, Nature's Wave keeps rolling on. It has everything to do with energy. It has everything to do with where the energy is being spent. And the whole goal, remember when we talked about seeds, is to bring more life, is to go to seed, is to start the whole cycle all over again. And so the energy starts in the winter in the soil, and even though it looks like nothing is out there, everything looks barren, the life is there. It's just below the ground. So it's in the roots. So these amazing roots in the winter are an incredible time to gather roots if you can get through the hard ground. Then the energy goes into the shoots of the new plants, and then into the early leaves, and then into the flower buds, and then into the flowers, and then into the seed pods, and then to the seeds, and the fruits, and the berries, and the nuts, and then the frost hits, and it all goes back down to the roots again. So that's nature's wave, that's the cycle of life, and learning how to surf that is really a skill. And so I think it would be really fun to do once a month Nature's Wave with Holly to show you what's in my foraging basket. You can post pictures of what's in your foraging basket. This is like 1/1,000,000th of what I could have gotten. And Jason kept saying, stop, you've got enough, you've got enough. So it's just so much fun to see what's out there. So let's talk about some of the things that I found. So, I wanted to share another scripture, and I have to read this one because I don't have it memorized. But this is really a cool verse. Do you see my glasses anywhere? Oh, here they are. Okay. So listen to this, guys. This is Psalms 145, 15 and 16. The eyes of all look to thee, and thou dost give them their food in due season. Thou dost open thy hand and dost satisfy the desire of every living thing. So as we look to God and as we have our empty baskets and we go out into nature and we say, Lord, open my eyes, show me, what do you have for me today to fill my baskets, to feed my family and to feed my soul and to spend time with you. And he will satisfy our desires in a deepest possible way. So I just love that verse. It kind of reminds me of the other one that we're always talking about when I share about nature's wave. So I'm going to put my Bible down and then we'll get started with our class. All right, so one of the things I wanted to share with you, I just was listening this week. Karen Sherwood is a very famous forager, and she was saying that the best way to get to know a plant is to spend time with it. I mean, like to know it for the rest of your life. And as you look at that plant, describe it to yourself, which is really a cool idea. So I mean, like Holly can describe it to you. You can read about it in books about how it's identified. But if you can look at it yourself and you can say, wow, okay, these leaves are kind of oval and long and they have like a reddish midrib. And, or if you don't even know the word midrib, it doesn't matter. Like the vein in the middle is really prominent. It kind of sticks out in the back. And the venation or the veins are kind of parallel to each other. You don't have to know the botanical terms. You just have to be able to identify to yourself, what am I looking at? And of course, now we're looking at milkweed seed pods. And if you want to know about milkweed, go to our milkweed class, because this is probably hands down one of my top 5 favorite edibles. And we're going to cook with it today. So you're going to see how to make milkweed hot pockets, and those are delicious. So that's what we're having for dinner, by the way. Okay, so looking with your eyes, describing with your mouth, and then every time you see it, just say hi to it. So when you can identify and you can name something, then you can value it. And if you can actually eat it and work with it like we do, then you really have experienced it and you can share it with others. And the life that's in these plants is so much higher in nutrition than what we would even grow in our gardens, because the roots of wild edible plants tend to be a lot larger and deeper, bringing up more and more minerals and vitamins and stuff from the soil and from the micro, I can't think of the word, but from this amazing network of energy that's below the surface. So bringing the deeper roots bring up all of that energy to bring life into the plant. So it's really kind of interesting. If you were to weed your garden and look at the weeds that you're ripping up, their root systems are much more pronounced and deeper, and so therefore they bring up more nutrients. And you don't have to baby them. They kind of grow by themselves because they're weeds. So I love that. So let's talk about what's on. So that was her advice on getting to know plants. Checking the harvest, that's what I wanted to share with you, is that now that the harvest is here, you have to constantly check it, because the berries are ripening all around, but they don't all ripen at once. And so go out every couple of days to your blackberry patch or whatever and gather the new ones that were red and are now black and ready to be gathered. Checking your grapes to see, are they ready yet, or are they too tart? Or all of these things have a expiration. And the berries, if you wait too long, those berries will get a fungus on them. They'll get kind of, disgusting, and you wouldn't want to gather them. So don't sleep during the harvest. It's kind of a busy time, but it's a joyful time. And I enjoy harvesting early in the morning or late at night when it's not hot. And that way you can just kind of enjoy being out in nature without being hot and sweaty at the same time. Okay, so some of the things we're going to look for today are, we're going shopping, and our shopping list is going to be Hot Pockets, cheese, these are all things you can get from nature, potatoes, caldones, Kool-Aid, grape Kool-Aid, quinoa, jelly, bacon, yes, bacon, lemonade, coffee, protein, nuts, apples, and blackberries, creamed spinach, peas, green beans, and broccoli. All of that, oh, and crackers are right here on my counter. Okay, and I'm not going to go through teaching you how to do each of those things now, but if you stick with me, well, you'll be just as crazy as I am in knowing how to do these things. And there's so much information on the net you can learn from, and great books you can learn from as well. I always recommend Linda Runyon's stuff because she lived off the land for 13 years and thrived. So she really knows what she's talking about, and she was my mentor, so I just treasure her. She has wonderful homeschooling material that you might want to consider if you're homeschooling your children, getting a hold of. It's at, gosh, what is the name of her? It's Eat the Weeds? No, it's not Eat the Weeds. Anyway, just look up Linda Runyon. I'll give you the link below. Of the Field, there you go. And look at the homeschool curriculum that she's created. And then that would be a good thing. And then have your kids join me for classes every single Tuesday where they can learn in Holly's Kitchen what's going on in nature at this time. So I would love that. And I just so enjoy it when kids join me. And I enjoyed homeschooling my children, and I would love to invest in your children as well. And there's quite a few kids that are in our group, and a lot of big kids too. So that's kind of all ages are welcome. All right, so those are the edible things we're looking for, and I'll show you what they are in a minute. And then the medicinal things, we're going to look for some antiviral gummies, because you know what? It's there's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. So what is it here that we can incorporate into our diets or take as medicine to heal and to strengthen our immune system? So I'll show you that. And then pain reliever. If any of you struggles with migraines or pain, or there's anodynes in nature, there's many of them. And so there's one here that's really tall and amazing. And so we'll talk about that one quickly. And then what about burns? If you've got a burn, what kind of bandages can you use? And what's the best thing to use? And if you don't have access to pharmaceuticals or something, what could you use that's already in nature? Anti-itch. This was amazing. I'll just quickly have Jason tell this story. So come on over, Jason. August, but there it is. Then the very next thing that happens is these early leaves are tasty, but when they get older like this, you would not want to eat these leaves. They're disgusting. But then the energy goes up the leaf into the flower, up the stem, into the flower buds, and these taste like broccoli. So these are the milkweed broccoli buds. Super, super, super yummy. And you can fix them just like you would any broccoli. Make them on casseroles, put them on pizza, or just tear them apart like this and have them like peas. Okay? So then they open up into these pink flowers that smell amazing. They just have, there's no other smell like milkweed. And you can actually make sugar out of that. I've never done that. I have flavored sugar. I've flavored honey with it, but I've never made sugar. If you've ever done that and know how, please let me know, but I know it's possible. Then each of those flowers turns into these little tiny, little cute little pods. Look how cute that is. So that used to be a flower. And this pod, a little bit too small, but you could eat it. But when it gets a little bit bigger, maybe bigger than that even, like this size right there, this is a potato size, and this is super good to use as like for okra, or to slice up and cook in bacon grease and use them like hash browns, and they're really, really good. So now, but what I'm interested in is the next phase, and the next phase is this one, where it's larger than the potato stage. And if you just open it up along the seam, see how there's a seam there? And you can pull this white, it's called cheese. This is the milkweed cheese. So good. It has the consistency of like a mozzarella cheese stick. It's sweet. And there's no fluff yet. It hasn't turned into fluff. What happens after a while, after months have gone or weeks have gone by, this fluff, these little seeds turn dark, like this picture here, like you can see. And this part here turns into like a parachute fluff. And this is toxic, so you would not want to eat that. But they're really fun to play with, and they're super, super soft, and there's a lot of uses for that. I have a whole class on milkweed, and you want to watch that because it's just amazing. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and take...
Would
yes,
you
sir.
hold those up again, please? I want to see the...
You want to see this?
Yes, thank you.
Here. It's all sticking to my hands. Woo! I love these things. So they're so beautiful the way they're packed in. It's unbelievable how lovely those are. And it's fun to get them in the wind and watch them just take off and go to new locations. What I recommend as foragers, because we are so interested in a sustainable harvest and an honorable harvest, is I recommend collecting these in November when they're out and about. And I really recommend, what am I doing? Is this better?
Hold it still.
Like that. I really recommend collecting these dried seed pods and then keeping them in your backpack and then opening them where you want to spread the life, because the world can't have enough milkweed. We need them for the monarch butterflies. We need them for our food. We need them for the beauty, for the just eye candy, but it's really important for the monarch butterflies. So at this stage, it's too late. This is what you want to harvest in order to make Hot Pockets. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to make those Hot Pockets. I'm going to wash my hands really quick. Hold on. Okay, well, while I'm here, I'm going to just really quickly show you this. This is the...
Start again. Hold up, please. Wait till I get in close to you.
Okay.
If you want to do some instruction there, just wait a minute.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, and then when I say go, you can start again.
I'm just taking a quick break from the milkweed pockets because I wanted to show you how to make...
Start again.
Okay.
Start again. Let me show you or something.
All right, let me show you how to make these poke balls. So now I've boiled the poke twice and I've rinsed it each time. And then you just grab some of these leaves and you squeeze out the water. And it's really important to have a bag that's already labeled. So I labeled this poke balls and I put the date down. So now pretty much most of that liquid is squeezed out of there. And this poke ball is, I'm just going to stick it there in the corner. So then I'll just grab another handful and squeeze the liquid out. And I'm not going to do the rest of this right now because I want to get back to class, but I wanted to show you that this is how I preserve poke for the winter. Because I love, love, love this plant. It is so delicious. Okay, so this plant, I want to have this bag full and have several of these to have throughout the winter. And you can actually can it too as well. All right. So let's get back to cooking. This is my casserole. I have it kind of greased a little bit. And I have on this plate here, I've got cream cheese. I have lamb's quarter leaves that have been all chopped up really small. I've got bacon. And over here is jalapeno and wild onion seeds. So I took those apart, and those are those little tiny white seeds there, which smell really, really oniony and garlicky. And then I've got the cream cheese. So a little bit of Parmesan, which I don't know why I did that, but I just did. All right, so I'm going to throw all that in there into my bowl. And on the... Now I'm going to get busy with my milkweed pockets. So this one's already ready to go. I've already taken out the cheese. And I'm going to make a stack of the cheese right here. And I'm just going to go through and you've got to find the seam. There it is. Once you find the seam, it pops right open. And you pull it out, put that down. Might help if I used my glasses. I'm going to use my glasses. Okay, yeah, you can really see it when you've got the, see, look at that. Ugh, that looks so good. It's so sweet. Now remember, if it has any brown at all on these seeds, and they're not chewy, then it's no longer food. So put that in there. And I'm going to go through and do that to all these guys. Once you have it done, and these are all out, then you want to chop it up really small, mix it in with all this other good stuff, and then fill your Hot Pockets, your Milkweed Hot Pockets, with this mixture. And we'll do just one more because I'm out of space. Whoops. Okay. And you can just eat that raw. You don't have to cook this, but this is such a good recipe. Honestly, I'd love to give credit to whoever came up with this recipe, but I've done this for so many years and I don't remember where I first heard about it. But it's a good recipe. All right, so now I'm going to take my knife and wherever it went, here it is, and chop this up nice and fine. I probably should do more because I've got so much of the filling here. And I think I will. And what I'll probably do is I'll finish this after class and then post pictures of it, of the whole process, so that I can get all of this cooked up. So let me just show one and how you do that. Let me get a spoon. So now I'm just going to mix this all together. It really does need more of the milkweed in it though, so. Okay. Probably the best way to do this, the messiest way, but the best way would just be to do it with your hands. So once you've got that nice and mixed up together, you might want to add a little bit of salt. You could even squeeze a little bit of lemon juice in there. Whatever flavorings you want. I saw a recipe that my friend Heather sent me this week of milkweed barbecued wings. And I'll post that below too. I've never tried that, but that sounds really cool. I've tried making them like okra, where you actually bread them with some cornmeal and put them in egg wash and then back in the cornmeal and then fry them up. And they taste really similar to okra. All right, so this one's nice and full. And of course, anything with bacon is really good. Today for lunch, I made a grilled cheese sandwich for Jason with blackberry. It was a blackberry jam on the inside of a grilled cheese sandwich with Swiss cheese, jalapenos, and bacon. And that was pretty good. What'd you think, Jace?
I love it.
Yeah, on sourdough bread. What else did I have in there? Now I could have made bacon with burdock root, and I've done that many times, but I used real bacon this time. All right, so you get the idea. So now the most important part, in my opinion, is the topping. And so I'm going to show you what that is. And then I'll send pictures of the finished product in our dinner tonight, and just tonight. So hold on, let me wash my hands. Okay. So I took some chips and put them in a bag, and I'm going to just scrunch them all up like this and put them on top of the Hot Pockets like that. And just imagine these are all done, and there's a lot more of the cheese inside of there, and then you bake it for 30 minutes until crispy and moist inside and delicious, and then you can just eat the whole thing, the whole Hot Pocket. You don't have to dig out the insides because the whole thing is edible. So this is really good. So if you want to try this, let me know how it turns out. I think a lot of times when things don't turn out, it's because people don't prepare them properly. And I have a great story to tell you about that when we get to talking about kudzu. Okay, so let me put this over here and we'll clean this up later and I'll finish it up and cook it later. So let's talk about starting with the roots. Okay, so Nature's Wave, the roots are, best time to get roots are in the early spring or in the late fall and in the winter if you can get them. But this is a burdock root and you only want the burdock root of a first year plant. I've done a whole class on that. So if that doesn't make any sense to you, just go back and watch the burdock class. I found this amazing burdock. Look at these beautiful leaves. Look how huge they are. So this is a first year burdock leaf. And you can tell because they're absolutely huge. They can be hats or they can be fans. Actually, it's too big to be a fan. It doesn't give a good resistance. So then what you want to do is you can use these for plates. So cutting off the leaf like that, you can put that down, and when you're serving, especially a wild food dinner, it's a good idea to use the leaves as a plate. So this is from the first year. So when you have a first year plant, you can get the root anytime. If this was a second year plant, you would not be able to get the root because it would be woody. It would only be there as a structure to hold up the plant as it's going to seed. So this is juicy and delicious, and you can cut it up in little tiny slices. This is a delicacy in Asian countries, especially Japan. You can buy it at Whole Foods for $20 a pound, or you can just dig it up yourself. It's a noxious weed, but it's my favorite. It smells so, so good. As compared to poke, when you simmer this or decoct this in water, save the liquor or the liquid because it makes really good soup. Or just to drink it like a rich, earthy tea. So good for your body, especially if you have diabetes or blood sugar issues. So amazing, the nutrition that's in burdock. But these little guys, you can simmer them until they're al dente and they're nice and, tender, just like a carrot. And then you can season them with bacon seasoning. You can put them in bacon grease with some applewood seasoning over it. And that can be very much like a piece of bacon. Or I've made them into hamburgers. I love them in sweet and sour dishes, like I think we did a couple of times ago. I've made them into taco meat, made them into pepperoni. It has such a wonderful absorbing way about it that it'll absorb whatever flavors you give it and has such a great texture. When it's raw like this, it's just too tough. So you would need to decoct it in boiling water, or not a hard boil, but to simmer it down until it's just the right texture that you're looking for. So you can still get burdock root right now. There's lots of things that are out right now or coming down the corner as far as roots, but this is all I was able to collect. So that's that. Then the stems or the shoots, remember I showed you the one of the milkweed shoot. This is an anomaly. You're not going to find these out right now. So I'll probably throw this in our dinner, but you're not going to find them very often. The milkweed petioles or shoots are also a delicacy. And you just take off you can use a paring knife or a knife and just take off the stringiness like this, and then chop it up whatever sizes you want and boil them down too, or you can make them into pickles. And these are delicious, and I have a lot of them marinated in my fridge right now. So you can see I've got some right here. So as I go about, and I probably will do, I think what I'll do is I will fix up everything I've got in front of me and do it on, what is that called, Jason, where you do it quickly, where fast speed ahead or something, so that you can see the process, but it would be sped up so that you can watch it quickly without having to watch how long it takes me. So that would be a kind of a fun way to learn together. Okay, the other thing you can do with burdock is cutting out those midribs and using these, drying them flat, putting them in a shoe box and using these as burn bandages. And you just reconstitute them in water and put them over wherever part of your body has been burned. And they have such an amazing cell proliferant ability to them. The Amish have used this for years. You can look it up on Google and burdock bandages with the Amish community or Amish hospitals or something. And so having a stash of these for the winter is a really good idea, because you just never know, when you're going to have a burn. And it causes very little scarring, and it helps your skin to heal so much quicker than any other type of bandage. So that's useful and edible, and burdock is also very medicinal, but we won't get into that right now. So that's the roots and the shoots. So let's talk about the leaves. You don't ever want to eat the burdock leaf because they're really, really, really bitter. Some people do, but I can't even imagine. But this is what's out right now, a lot of oxalis or wood sorrel, and it's just a really delightful, lemony, sweet little leaf to throw into your salad. If you have problems with oxalic acids, then you could just simply cook them, and that breaks down those crystals. What other leaves? You can make kale chips out of plantain leaves. Interesting, the lamb's quarter, now that it's getting older, is gone to seed. And look at how different the shapes of the leaves are as they get tall. So this was like really tall when I took this off. And so the leaves are still usable, and the seeds are very usable. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they're not near as juicy as last month, like they were last month, but they're still usable. So I think that's it for the leaves. All right, then the energy goes up the stalk onto the flower buds. And so this is what's on Nature's Wave right now. These are evening primrose buds. And each one of these little sepals that are holding together the flower open up at night. And they usually like 8 o'clock at night. And you can Google that on YouTube and watch them open. It's just beautiful. So at the flower clock, you can see these blooming at 8 o'clock. The flowers open at different times of the day for lots of interesting reasons, which we'll talk about in a different class. All right, do you see how these are all going to be beautiful yellow flowers? But right now, these can be leaves. I mean, not leaves, they can be vegetables. So you would just chop off the kind of the tough parts so that you just have these little veggies, kind of like peas, and you can just steam those up, and you can put them in stews or cover them with béarnaise sauce or just a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper, and just make this a delicious side dish. And they're out in abundance right now. So that's a great thing you can do. You can also eat the flowers, which don't really have much taste, but they're beautiful. Okay, so that's the flower buds. The flower buds, we saw just a little bit of the milkweed, how that was these have yet to bloom into flower. Then we have the flowers, and look at all these flowers that we've got out right now. These are all edible. When you eat a flower, a daisy, you just want to take off the petals. And we did a whole series on edible flowers, and I even have a handout that you can look up on our group on edible flowers. You just take the petals off like that and throw them like confetti into your salad or whatever. I wouldn't cook with them. There's also wonderful medicinal purposes for daisy, but we won't get into that right now. Okay, echinacea flowers, same thing there. This is Rudbeckia or black-eyed Susan, and they have very similar medicinal qualities as the echinacea, which is very famous for being excellent for colds and flu. And then these are just amazing to me. So let's just take a peek at these colors. This here is goldenrod, and this is the highest in antioxidants of all of the flowers. It is 7 times higher in antioxidants than green tea. So if anyone actually knew the amazing ability of this made into a tea for anti-aging and for just boosting your immune system, it's not all that tasty, but I have wonderful ways to make it tasty. This is incredible. So goldenrod is coming out. It's just started coming out, and pretty soon our entire mountains will just be nothing but golden with the Solidaga canadensis, which is what this is. Okay, we'll do a whole class on goldenrod. The thing about goldenrod, though, is that when it's out, it means ragweed's out too, and that's just horrible. So make sure that you've got lemon, lavender, and peppermint, or you can use goldenrod tea as an amazing antidote for ragweed allergies, seasonal allergies. This was exciting. I couldn't believe this. Hold on a second. I got to get this really quick. Okay. So Jason and I went to this old farmhouse that's been abandoned because I wanted to get some chestnut branches. And there was kudzu. And those of you that live in kudzu country, you're probably thinking, what's the big deal? We hate kudzu. Well, it's a big deal for me because at my altitude, we don't see much of this. The woman who planted this planted them because she thought they were beautiful and she did not know that they would literally eat her house. So I've watched over the years as they have battled this to keep it from eating the house, and I'm pretty sure that they use chemicals now to keep it back because it's not as prolific as it used to be. This is in the pea family, the Fabaceae family. You can see the pea-shaped flowers, and they smell exactly like grape Kool-Aid. I'm like, Jason, you're just gonna have to smell this. This is incredible. So that's why I said I had grape Kool-Aid on the board. What could you do with this? You could make it a tea, sweeten it a little bit, and then you would have like a grape Kool-Aid. I've also made jelly out of the flowers. The whole plant has over 100 uses. You can make rope out of it. This was incredible. Trying to get this untwisted that was all wrapped around an apple tree was a piece of work. But you can make rope out of this. There's fabulous ways to do that, and we'll talk about that in another class. We'll probably do a rope making class, which will be fun. But look at those interesting flowers and those shaped leaves. They look like they're in the pea family, don't they? I watched a video on kudzu, and the guy was saying, everybody says kudzu is so usable and it's so edible, and he goes, I want to see for myself. So he took a bite out of the leaf, and it was just disgusting. And he made a tea out of the flowers, and it wasn't yummy. And he tried the root, and he tried the whole plant, and it was just, he was not impressed. So he thought that everyone was lying about saying how useful this plant is. The problem is, guys, you can have a really powerfully wonderful plant like burdock and be eating this and not this and thinking, I despise burdock. Well, yeah, you don't want to eat the leaf. You just want to eat the root. And if you do eat the leaf, you would only eat the really young leaf when they first come out in the spring. Same thing here. Probably these leaves are too old and too fibrous to be edible. So maybe, I don't know, maybe because I don't get to eat kudzu very often, I think that probably the early leaves are the ones that you would want to try and sample with. And also, if you were to eat something like this, probably not raw is a good idea. Maybe if you put it in stews, because it is high in nutrition. And it's so prolific, and it's taken over, it's swallowing the South whole. It's just crazy how much it's destroying. It's like a monoculture. You can't even see what's underneath it. So I really think that this deserves an entire hour class, and so we'll talk about it later. I just had to show you how excited I was, and the smell of this. Here, I just want you to smell that and tell me what you think. I wish we had smell-o-vision so you guys could smell it too. It's really unusual. But I've heard that if you're in like a kudzu area and it's blooming, that it's an overpowering smell because there's millions of them. What'd you think?
It certainly has a grape smell.
Did that remind you of Kool-Aid when you were a kid?
Yeah, it does. It has
Absolutely.
a grape smell.
Kind of fun. Okay, so that was the flowers. Oh, and we have more flowers. So we have chicory, and this is, oh my gosh, Joe Pyeweed. So this was really fun collecting this. And Joe Pyeweed is called gravel root, and another one of its nicknames because it's so famous for how it can dissolve kidney stones. The root, not the flower. And honestly, guys, I have no idea if you can eat this flower. I've never even looked into it, but it sure is beautiful. And the thing I love about it are these axils, the different leaves that come off of the axils. So they have different numbers, like sometimes you'll see 4 coming off of each axle, sometimes you'll see 5, sometimes you'll see 6 leaves, sometimes you'll see 7 leaves off of each axle, sometimes you'll see 8, and I've even seen 9 off of each axle. So I don't know why that is. I just think God was in just kind of a fun mood, and he wanted it to mix it up a bit, I guess. I don't know, but it's really fun. So this is ironweed. And this is an amazing plant. Look how beautiful that is. So these flowers are edible, but they don't taste like anything. They're just pretty to throw like in a salad or for botanical bling. But these leaves and stuff, you just rip them off. And colonists and people used to put these leaves into mattresses because they are really, really good insect inhibitors. And they would also use these sticks, the canes or whatever, the stems, stalks, to put together as part of the mattress with these on top of it for cushioning. So I like my bed, but if I had to be in the woods and I needed to have something comfortable and I wanted to keep the bugs at bay, then this would be something that I would look into for sure. And then there's the chicory. What else do we have in here? So beautiful. This here is the wild lettuce. And this is what all lettuces, cultivated lettuces, came from. And boy, these could get up to like 15 feet tall. So I cut this one down, like maybe 6 feet off or just way up high. So it was going much higher. Look at those leaves. Very, very bitter. And what's edible about this are these little flower buds. So just like we've been talking about the evening primrose flower buds or the buds of the milkweed, look at that. These can be pulled off, and they're in the Asteraceae family, so they will turn into little parachutes, and they'll open, and close. So you want to get them before they open the first time, and you can boil these up or stir fry them, and this will probably go in our dinner tonight too. So it's high in nutrition. And that's the part I would eat. As far as how to make this into a medicine for a pain reliever, I have no idea. So if you know and you've used this, let me know. I'd be curious. I do know it has the latex in there. See that white stuff? And this is part of why it's an anodyne. So, yeah. Okay. And oh, by the way, if you have these in your garden, I would just rip them up before they go to seed, because the millions of seeds that come off of this, honestly, they're so prolific. You can get them elsewhere. You don't need them on your land. Unless you want them, but. Okay, let's see. So we talked about flowers. Seed pods. We talked about the milkweed seed pods. What other kind of seed pods do we have out here? Oh, I wanted to share about these flowers. So one of the shopping centers I went to, I forgot to show you this one here. I went to Mary Norris's house off of Chestnut Grove to get some Rose of Sharon. Look at those beautiful flowers. And so she has beautiful, beautiful Rose of Sharon bushes next to her house. And Mary was a friend of Jason and mine for many years, and I think she lived to be 98. Is that right? She died about 3-4 years ago. And her house was just such a destination. She had no television. She did have electricity, but no heat and no water. So she had a well outside of the house, and she had a wood stove. And that's how she was born in that house, and she died in that house. We got to see her the day before she died. When I walked in, she goes, "Where's Jason?" So she was pretty special. But I was really kind of emotional because I used to drive by her house on the way home and stop by many, many, many times just to say hi. And she didn't have TV and she didn't have radio. She just had people. And people always were there to talk with her and to hear her stories and to hear her laugh. And she was just so joyful and never complained. She was just a joyful person. But one of the fun things that I did when she was 93 for her birthday is all of my wild food kids put together a wild food feast for her birthday, and each person made a wild food meal, or not a meal, but just a recipe, and brought it, and we put it on the rocks that were circled around her little garden in front of the house next to the well. And I have pictures of that. I'll have to find them, post them so you can see. But I was just kind of transported back to that. And then each of my girls brought a plant to plant in her garden, so that it could be a part of them planted into her garden. And I brought her feverfew, and doggone it if it wasn't still living. And this was growing right next to her steps. And so I didn't uproot it, I just picked it so I could bring it home and make some medicine from this. or I could just dry it as a tea, but I think I need to tincture it because I'm out of feverfew. This is a powerful, powerful medicine for headaches and for fevers. And so just this little, simple little flower, feverfew. But this was special. So when I shop, I'm not going just to Big Lots. I'm not going to Lowe's. I went to Mary's. Where else did we go? We went to the Todd Island Park. I went to Diana's yard, to her farm. And these flowers are really delicious. You take out always the stamens and the pistils, and you can stuff them like you would a squash blossom and bake them, or you can just put them like botanical bling in your salads, and they have a real lettucey flavor to them, and they're just so beautiful. So those are Rose of Sharon and feverfew. So I think we're out of flowers, and now we're moving into berries. So the blackberries, yes sir. 5 minutes to go? Okay. All right. So elderberries are out. So what I did, Jason and I don't know why, but on my mountain, I think I'm the only house with blackberries, and they were here, or elderberries. And when we first moved in, I wondered what was this white umbel that comes out in June, and then these purple berries that come out in the late July and early August, and they're elderberries, and we have hundreds of them all around our property. So what I recommend doing is putting them, the whole umbel of the dark berries, into a paper sack and freezing it. And then you take that sack and just whack it on the counter, and then all of those berries have now come off the peduncles, so that you can now throw the peduncle part out, or you could just easily strip it too, but it's a lot easier than picking one off at a time. But there's a ton of them at the bottom now, and then you can compost this part, and then take the berries and put them in a bag that you've labeled, which I've got mine labeled right here. Elderberries, August 9th, 2021. And then keep these in the freezer, and you can make gummy berries. These are gummy bears or gummy candies made with elderberry. You can make syrups. You can make elderberry wine. It's such a hugely powerful antiviral, antimicrobial, well, I don't know if it's microbial, but it is an antiviral and an antibacterial. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to put this back in the freezer so I can deal with this later. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of time. Okay, so then other berries. This is also on Nature's Wave right now. This is sumac, rush glabra, and these are beautiful spires of red that just shockingly go into the sky. They will be out all winter long. The birds like to nibble on them. They're very tart with malic acid. You never want to harvest these after it's rained, or the malic acid will have been just kind of drowned off of it. So when you harvest, make sure they're nice and tart. That's nice and tart. So, and then you want to save these, take them off and save them in I have a huge jar that I keep of it. You can make it into sumac aid. You can make it into satar. Super high in vitamin C. Really an amazingly beautiful plant. These are called sumac bobs. Poison sumac has white berries and it droops down. Rush glabra or just smooth sumac are red berries, and they stick up like a bob or a spire. Okay, these other seeds, this was from the plantain Jason was talking about. This is what you use first. This is what psyllium husk is. And so the way to take these off is you just pull them off the stem, and then you have an entire handful of really, really powerful medicinal, edible, nutritious, and this is particularly helpful for fiber and for constipation issues. So when I get a chance, I'm going to go ahead and put all of these into a jar to keep through the winter, but this is just powerful. You can throw it into your smoothies, throw it into your stews, and you're just adding your nutrition and helping with the medicinal things as well, because it's letting food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Okay, a couple more things and then we're done. So I went over to my friend Diana's house, and she has beautiful, beautiful high bush cranberry viburnum bush. And so look how gorgeous that is. They're so pretty, but they're not ready. These are not ready at all. But I wanted to see how far along are they. because all these berries will ripen at a different time, and you can't just forget about them because then the birds will get them before you do, which is fine. You want to share, but you know, you want to make sure you get your jelly out of this. So these are they're not transparent enough, and if you tasted it, it would be insanely bitter. But I wanted to see what stage they're at, and I wanted to look before it was too late. So that's exciting. Okay, one more seed, and then I will show you. Okay, so this is the lamb's quarter, and the lamb's quarter gone to seed. This is the second highest in protein of all of the plants. Amaranth being the highest at 27 grams of protein for half a cup of amaranth seeds. This is Chenopodium album, and this is related to quinoa, which is Chenopodium quinoa. And so these seeds are so delicious and so nutritious. And so you can, I'm drying them, and then I'm going to strip them off and fill them in a jar. You can just, what Linda would do is she would reconstitute like a half a cup of it with some warm water in a thermos at night, and in the morning she would season it however she wanted, and then she would eat that, and it would give her incredible energy for the day, for her breakfast. So I haven't actually tried that, but I've done many things with it, which I will be posting in our comments. Okay, I think that's it. I hope you feel the bounty. I hope you feel the blessing. I hope you feel loved and encouraged to go shopping with me and shopping by yourself. Share with us what you're doing. I'll always have a post where you can put what it is you're eating wild. For homework, I'm not giving any new homework. We don't have a new scripture to memorize. We don't have a new crossword puzzle. We don't have, what else? I'm not going to ask you to do a poem, but it's a good opportunity to do catch up. So if you haven't done a poem yet for Poison Ivy or for Blackberry, or if you want to do a poem on Nature's Wave, please do. I would love that. And I'll be happy to give the winner some blackberry jelly because I've been making lots of that. Eat something wild every day. And
How about inviting someone?
oh yes, invite others to join so that they're not, they can surf with you and they're getting blessed just like you are. And get out there.
Tell them about meeting someone the other day at the Todd Island Park.
I did. I talked about meeting. I did. I invited her, and I hope you're here. I just loved meeting you, Aaliyah. I think that's what her name was. So invite somebody, and if you can support me on Patreon, that would be amazing. Definitely comment. Let me know where you're listening from. When you comment, it makes me realize this is not just a one-way conversation, or one-way monologue. It's more of a conversation, and I love that. So I love learning from you, and I love listening to you, and I'm really honored that you would join me. So talk to you next time, and see you soon.